let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. As in Week 11, the Seattle Seahawks, they lost to the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals beat the Seahawks 23-13. And in that game, let's look up the stats for this particular matchup. Colt McCoy, he went 35 of 44, threw for 328 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Russell Wilson, he struggled for the second consecutive game after returning back from injury. He went 14 of 26. He threw for 207 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions for the second game in a row for Russell Wilson. Not one passing touchdown. And so for Russell Wilson and Seattle, they have lost 3 straight games. And Russell Wilson, he lost 3 straight starts within a season for the first time in his career. First time in his career where he's lost 3 straight games where he started. The Seahawks, they are 3-7 on the season. This is their worst record through 10 games since 2009. So, Seattle, we have a problem. I've been watching the Seahawks closely this season because you remember in the offseason, fresh off a 12-4 season, Russell Wilson, he voiced some frustrations with the Seahawks organization. His agent even went far as to list 4 teams that he would accept a trade for. Him and Russell Wilson would accept a trade to if the Seahawks decided they wanted to move on from Russell Wilson. His agent listed 4 teams. I couldn't believe it. I've never seen anything like it where a franchise quarterback has his agent list teams that he would be open to being traded to. And let's be honest, Russell Wilson is married to an R&B singer like Ciara, and I'm sure she wants to be in a bigger market like LA. Although in LA, you have Matthew Stafford leading the LA Rams. With the Chargers, you have Justin Herbert as their, franchise quarterback. But look at New York with the Giants. The Giants, they aren't sold on Daniel Jones being the guy. So I'm sure Ciara would love for her husband, Russell Wilson, to play in a bigger market like New York, like LA, maybe even Miami, like Atlanta, maybe. Matt Ryan, I think he's on his way out of Atlanta. Pittsburgh, I think Roethlisberger is washed. I think the Steelers need to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback, and you pair up Russell Wilson with Mike Tomlin. I think that would be dynamic, and I think that's a team that could win a Super Bowl, especially with that defense that they have on the other side of the ball, and they're led by Mike Tomlin. We know Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the NFL, and he's has the Pittsburgh Steelers in contention every season. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers under Mike Tomlin, they have never had a losing season at no point in his coaching career. But when I look at Russell Wilson, I was looking closely at the situation because of all the turmoil in the offseason. But when I look at this Seattle Seahawks team, what exactly do they do well besides Russell Wilson making something out of nothing and making heroic plays in the passing game? The defense, they just let Colt McCoy pick them apart in Week 11. Colt McCoy, he had over 300 passing yards. He went 35 of 44, 2 touchdowns. And you looking at this matchup, right? I think Cliff Kingsbury, knowing they were going up against the Seattle Seahawks defense, who has been awful so far this season, I think they had the mindset, hey, let's give Kyler Murray an extra week of rest on that ankle because we have a bye week in Week 12, and we're going up against the Seattle Seahawks, one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I think their mindset was, we can win this game with Colt McCoy. The Arizona Cardinals, their offense, they had 413 total yards of offense against the Seattle Seahawks defense. Defense is supposed to be your signature, Pete Carroll. What the hell is going on? What is going on with this Seattle Seahawks defense? They have some players on their team in the personnel department who can perform. You have Jamal Adams, one of the best safeties in the NFL, although I think he's overrated. He's one of the best safeties in the NFL. You have Carlos Dunlap up front. You have Bobby Wagner, a proven linebacker for your team. Why are the Seattle Seahawks defensively struggling the way that they are? It's crazy. Look at their defensive statistics on the season. They give up 403 total yards per game, which is ranked 31st in the NFL. They give up 279 total passing yards per game. That's ranked 30th in the NFL. And defense is supposed to be Pete Carroll's signature. Let's talk about Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, his coaching record is great. He's 115, 70, and 1. He's won 62% of his games as the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. He's won at the collegiate level as well, dating back to his days at USC. He won a Super Bowl, and had he given the ball to Marshawn Lynch, he would have 2 Super Bowls on his resume. But I think Pete Carroll's defense is outdated. And I think the overall scheme for the Seattle Seahawks is outdated as well offensively. Because I look at other teams in the NFL. I look at Patrick Mahomes with Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City and the creative schemes that they put together for Patrick Mahomes. I look at Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay with Matt LaFleur and how great they are doing. I look at Kellen Moore with Dak Prescott in Dallas and how creative they are with him in their offense. Why is Pete Carroll struggling to put Russell Wilson in positions to be successful when Russell Wilson is an elite quarterback? Make no mistake about it. Russell Wilson is arguably a top 5 quarterback at his best. He's for sure top 10. Why are the Seattle Seahawks struggling to put him in positions to be successful? They got playmakers in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf on their team. So it just makes you wonder about Pete Carroll as a head coach, and is his time up in Seattle? And if I'm Russell Wilson, I'm really looking at this situation in Seattle, wondering if it's a situation where I can still win a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson, he's going to turn 32 years of age, November 29th, which is Monday. They'll be playing the Washington football team in Washington. So it makes you wonder, if you're Russell Wilson, do you want to get out of Seattle, go to a better situation where you can position yourself to win your second Super Bowl? I think these are questions that Russell Wilson should be talking about with his wife, Sierra, and his agent, and wondering if it's time to get the hell out of Seattle. Because the Seattle Seahawks, they are not the same contender that we have seen in previous years. And I think the Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson marriage has ran its course. And I think it's time for the Seattle Seahawks to part their ways with Pete Carroll for sure. And if they're not going to trade Russell Wilson, try to bring in a coach who can put Russell Wilson in positions to be successful, because he should be having the success that Patrick Mahomes is having in Kansas City, that Aaron Rodgers is having in Green Bay, that Tom Brady is having in Tampa Bay, that Dak Prescott is having in Dallas. It is inexcusable for how bad this Seattle Seahawks offense is looking right now. And I think Pete Carroll, his time has come to an end in Seattle. And I think if the Seahawks organization want to part ways with Russell Wilson, I think they need to consider drafting a quarterback in this upcoming draft. I do.